Welcome back to Havana Media. My name is Boniface Awino, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for today. You know, right now is when we are seeing now the results, or we are seeing now the fruits of the Gen Z's demonstration. If all senators can speak one voice like this, if they can realize that what they've been getting or what they've been given, they are always given is much more than what they are supposed to receive. And even the people, the Kenya Kwanza, the UDA senators are now sensing that what the government is doing is not right. Then I think this is now the best moment that now Kenya is getting into the right direction. But before we do that, there is something that Jalango is writing. That is Felix, MP, Member of Parliament Felix, is saying that there are things that almost look like a setup. We are in a crisis, and SRC, that is Salaries and Remuneration Commission, are proposing an increment of 14K. Yani mnataka tupigwe tukufe ndio mfurahie. Mimi sitaki. That is, the Member of Parliament is rejecting the 14,000 increment of salary. He's saying that yani ni furaha yenu kama SRC ya kwamba tupigwe na wananchi tufe ili mkafurahie. So it is a very interesting, but this is very interesting because right now they are sensing that actually what they've been doing is not right, especially now, right now, when now the citizens have woken up and now are giving them, are really greeting them everywhere they go, in every corner they go, they're being treated. But I want us now to talk about what is really happening now at the Senate. The Senate is back. Today is 3rd of July. The Senate is back, and they have been talking about the state of the nation. And in between talking about the state of the nation, there are a lot of senators who have realized that indeed what they've been doing is not right. I want us to begin by this senator by the name of Senator Aaron Cheruiyot. Aaron Cheruiyot started by first apologizing to the public or to the Gen Zs for what has been happening, and then he talked about 4 things. Number one, he started by apologizing to the Gen Zs.
Mr. Speaker, I'd wish to personally, and this is at a personal level, not even necessarily as Senator for Kericho, majority leader, but just as a leader and somebody who God has granted the opportunity to serve in a position of responsibility in this country, to tender my unreserved apology to the country for either by commission or omission, everything that I have contributed into getting us into the mess and the place that we are in. I have reflected deeply the last few days, Mr. Speaker, and looked through my own journey as an individual and asked myself very serious questions, trying to wear the shoes of the ordinary citizens and how they feel at this particular moment about me as a person. I don't want to focus about any other individual, whichever office they occupy, but just me, a citizen of this country, that God in his own wisdom granted the opportunity to serve in a place of responsibility, and try to retrace my steps. What is it that perhaps I should have done better? I have to be sincere, Mr. Speaker, that there were days in the night that I contemplated even quitting and said, perhaps maybe other people can do it. But this is not the time to quit. Because quitting doesn't solve. It doesn't get us out of the hole that you already are in. If it's about getting out and running away, Mr. Speaker, you first sort the mess that you created. I'm afraid, Mr. Speaker, that I know that is the agony that many of our colleagues have thought through. And therefore, just to bring the country up to speed and appreciate why the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is seated this morning, is that we had a session yesterday in the afternoon where we sat down as a Senate of the Republic of Kenya off camera, not in this chamber, but seated somewhere together, and reasoned and said, what is it that we can make as our contribution? We are deeply embarrassed, Mr. Speaker, that it has taken young children to point to us that you are naked as our leaders. Extremely troubling. A moment that, to many of the people that I listened to yesterday in the afternoon as leaders shared their experiences and what has been the last few weeks, I realized that we are in extraordinary times, and ordinary solutions that we have proposed in the past cannot work this time. Unless we are serious, unless we are genuine, unless we are honest, unless we mean it, let us not begin this conversation in this house this morning, Mr. Speaker. And I'd wish to put it on record that I come 100% willing and committed, standing before the Senate and the Republic of Kenya, knowing well that one way or the other, I have made a contribution that I am ready to be persuaded and to be led jointly, first of all, by the leaders that are here and by the things that we are being told by the people that are speaking in the public spaces and the conversation that's going on in the country, Mr. Speaker, on what we need to do to redeem and win back our country.
That is number one. And then the second one, he was asking why the government, why is it that the police, the IG is silent? Why is it that the IG is still in the office, and why is it that he's silent? He's not even talking about the state of the nation. He's the one who should update people, Kenyans, on what is happening in the state, in the nation.
Of the Inspector General. I am deeply troubled by that, Mr. Speaker. It cannot be right. We were in this country, though I was not a leader and I was a young person in university, Mr. Speaker, when we faced the post-election violence, day by day, General Hussein Mohammed will brief the country and speak to the country and give them an update of what is happening. How can we face such a crisis, Mr. Speaker? Up to this particular point, I don't know what the Inspector General thinks. I don't know what is the challenge. We don't know these things that are being discussed. Mr. Speaker, the question at the back of my mind, is this really the right man for this job?
And then the third one is, he talked about, William Ruto normally says that Kenya has got a debt of 10 trillion. He's saying that instead of telling us that we have a debt of 10 trillion, then it is better you tell us that the 10 trillion that was taken, it has done this project, this and this and this.
Mr. Speaker, I have a certain level of reprieve as a person, but it still doesn't help me. Like I said, these young people don't care, and the people that are speaking don't care, because on the two occasions that the debt question appeared before this House the last term, I voted against it, both to move it at 6 trillion and eventually when we moved it to 10 trillion, Mr. Speaker. But that doesn't help. That's history. We can point fingers and say you moved, you did this or the other. It doesn't matter at this point. The thing we are being told first, Mr. Speaker, is that when Kenyans look keenly, they are trying to locate 10 trillion in the country, and they cannot see it. So they're asking, are you sure, first of all, that we owe 10 trillion? And I have made public confessions, Mr. Speaker. Those that served with us in the Budget and Finance Committee last time, Mr. Speaker, know that when we asked for Kenya's debt register, it was brought to us on an Excel sheet. No records beyond that. And you're being told, company this, you owe them this much, this is the rate at which you borrowed, and so on and so forth. It pointed out to a problem. In fact, on the day that I made my contribution and said that I reject this approval of the debt, raising of the debt ceiling to 10 trillion, that's part of the reasons that I raised that afternoon, Mr. Speaker. And I said, until Parliament has a counter copy of what the Treasury is borrowing, Mr. Speaker, and we rearrange that whole space of our debt, Mr. Speaker, we are not yet out of the woods. Therefore, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the issue of debt, Mr. Speaker, but we are being told that a public audit of our debt situation, Mr. Speaker, is mandatory at this particular point. And I know the executive will do theirs, but even us as Parliament, because it's us who failed in that regard, we must carry out our own.
And of course, there is also Chiringei. Chiringei also spoke, and I want us to listen to what Chiringei was saying.
Kenyans, including our young brothers and sisters, the Generation Z, because some of us are millennials, that we have heard you, we listen to you, we apologize for some of the transgressions that might have escaped our attention in addressing some of the challenges, Mr. Speaker. When UHC colleagues, interns, we invited SRC here. They told us there is no money to increase for UHC doctors or JSS, but they are quick to increase money for us members of parliament to create discontent and fuel the country into discontentment of members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. And SRC must be called out, Mr. Speaker. You remember when UHC colleagues, interns, we invited SRC here. They told us there is no money to increase for UHC doctors or JSS, but they are quick to increase money for us members of parliament to create discontent and fuel the country into discontentment of members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. we never requested for the increment of salaries. We have never. SRC is abusing its own power by trying to set us against the public. And I'm happy a number of colleagues have responded to this blackmail, misleading, corruption by SRC, Mr. Speaker. And I also propose SRC must be disbanded. We have with SRC, they are not serving part-time. They are busy trying to set and regulate salaries so that they justify their work in office, Mr. Speaker. While SLRC chair is giving herself a 10 million car grant for a Prado from Toyota Kenya. She is increasing her salary. She gets 2 car grants within 4 years, Mr. Speaker. The SRC, and I want to say and tell Kenyans, I am not interested. In fact, what I'm proposing going into the future, members of parliament, we should serve in part-time, just like other countries.
Let us listen. Boni Alwale now is going direct. He's not even sparing anything. Boni Alwale is saying very well that the president is supposed to change a lot of things. Number one thing that the president is supposed to change are the CSS, or the CSS, the PSS, and the advisors. And he's saying that if the advisors are good, then the results cannot be bad. But if people like Ndi are the ones that are advising the president, then we can't expect good results.
Mr. President, dissolve cabinet, reconstitute it. Mr. President, disband officers outside the Constitution, including CAS, including Prime Cabinet Secretary. It is not in the Constitution of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, including officers of First Ladies, including, Mr. Speaker, advisors. If advisors are useful, then what David Ndi is doing is not advice, is misadvice. Mr. Speaker, the president should quickly restructure the security organs by firing people, the IG included. And finally, but not least, all the Sky teams must be grounded. Please, I'm asking the president to ask himself, how can the membership of an MP to a committee of parliament be the basis for him to be able to afford some of the things that are not affordable? Honorable Didmus Barasa, take it easy. Those helicopters will not change your life. Mr. Speaker, I equally offended somebody whose name I never mentioned in Kakamega over the weekend about this issue of opulence. I just wondered, how would an MP be able to donate 20 million shillings at a Harambe? He was very offended. In another function, I saw a minister of this government carrying a white bag, on the back like this, and started announcing how many millions are in that bag. Said, Moja, Bailey. No. Mr. Speaker, if we don't refuse these things, people like Murkomen will think that they are giving us their money. It's not their money. Those are proceeds of corruption.
Let us listen to what Edwin Sifuna was saying concerning all these issues. And Edwin Sifuna is insisting that there should be an audit, a thorough audit of the politicians and the way they are spending their money, because what is happening is not right. That the politicians are not supposed to be given first priority the way they've been given.
Honestly, do not need all that money. Even if I ran up and down the expressway for a year, I would never exhaust 370,000 Kenyan shillings. So, Honorable Speaker, we must do this so that we demonstrate to the people that we are serious about what we are talking about. We need to relook at our budgets in this House, and see where we can make major concessions and cuts for members of the public to feel that we are actually lessening the burden and not increasing the burden. And I want to give a personal example, and you'll forgive me if I'm giving out house secrets. Honorable Chair, when I became the Deputy Minority Whip, I was allocated a vehicle, a GK vehicle. On the first day that I used that car to go home, I passed through the expressway. I was shocked, Honorable Speaker, at the amount of money that is on my ETC card for my parliamentary car. As of this morning, when I used that same car to come here, there is 377,000 Kenyan shillings on my ETC. It does not make sense. It does not make sense, Honorable Speaker. So what you do, members of Parliament, the staff of Parliament have to be honest with Kenyans. In the way the budgets of Parliament are prepared, there are ways and means of reducing the expenditure in this House in a manner that will reduce the burden on taxpayers. I honestly do not need all that money. Even if I ran up and down the expressway for a year, I would never exhaust 370,000 Kenyan shillings. There are some offices that have been created that we do not even understand the basis of their existence. Look at the number of advisors in government. There needs to be a public audit of all these advisors, and tell Kenyans why it is okay for one office of the advisor on the economic matters, Honorable Khalwale, to have more money for travel than 9 committees of this House combined. It doesn't make any sense. There is also the specter of personal assistance in government. We need a public audit of that. There was another office that was created, and this one you'll forgive me, Majority Leader, of faith intercessors. We need a public audit of who are these people and why are they earning public money. Honorable Speaker, I had occasion to see one business card of one of those faith intercessors. It was the most powerful business card I have ever seen in my life. Honorable Speaker, you have spoken about the office of the First Lady, and I am happy that the President himself took a first initial step to say that office will cease existing from, I think he said, Monday of this week. It had 285 employees. I am telling you, the Deputy President, the wife of the Deputy President's office, 100 employees. Honorable Speaker, we cannot continue like this. Then there is a specter of retreats, and this one we are all guilty as members of this House. We need to look at our retreats, whether the retreats we are taking are necessary, whether these meetings cannot be had here, whether those resolutions cannot be dealt with here. And then in the independent commissions, in the ministries and the corporations, I was just being told that there actually also exist fake retreats. There's something called a fake retreat, where there was no retreat, but people are being paid for going on a retreat. Then on the foreign trips, Honorable Speaker.
And I was listening, I was also reading one of the things that was written by Millicent Omanga. And Millicent Omanga was saying something here. Let me just find it. Millicent Omanga was saying something that I don't know if I'll find it, but yeah, this is what Millicent Omanga was saying. Millicent Omanga was saying that it's a betrayal to Kenyans for salaries and other benefits of state officers to be increased at this point in time when there's agitation for the same to be reduced. We can't always take Kenyans for fools. Reduce, not increase. That's what Kenyans are demanding. That is Millicent Omanga. And we all know who Millicent Omanga is. Millicent Omanga is saying that right now it's not a point of increasing the salaries of politicians. What Kenyans want is reduce, not increase. But now what the government, what the SRC is doing, SRC wants to increase their salaries. In short, the SRC is like, I think the SRC is trying to sympathize with the way they've lost their properties. But now they are the ones that are saying that we don't want this thing. Because the moment you'll increase our salaries, that is now the moment that we'll be in big trouble. Jalango is saying that we don't want. Jalango personally is saying that I don't want that salary to be increased. I don't want. Let me just maintain my level. Because Jalango has cleared his name. So right now, when he makes a mistake of now again increasing the salary, my friend, it will be very tough for them. And Millicent Omanga is also, we've seen the way people have been talking negatively about Millicent Omanga, with the kind of lavish life he's living, showing us his garage with the new Range Rover car, the model, new Range Rover model, which costs a lot of millions of money. And she's the one now rejecting, saying that please, we don't want that money. Instead of increasing, decrease. We don't want that money, because the moment that money will be increased, will not have peace in the country. But all these are happening simply because of the demonstration that the Gen Zs have had, and the example that they've shown, what they've really shown, that because these people have shown what they want. They've shown the government what they want, and they've shown the government what they don't want. I don't know what to think concerning all these videos. I would also like to listen to your comment at the comment section. But just a reminder, if you're in for the first time, please don't forget to click the subscribe button. You can also tell me what you think, where you are, and how these videos are reaching you. But one thing I know very sure is that all these things that are happening, all these stories are just happening because of William Samoei Ruto. If at all he can bend low, he can come down and say that, okay, the deed has been done. Now, what is the way forward? And it includes everybody to discuss the matters of the nation, because we are in the same nation doing the same thing, but now being led by one person. And this one person wants to do things the way he's the one who expects, or he's the one who wants. He's advising his advisors, and that is why we are at this point. That is why we are at this point. Let us meet in the next video if it is possible. I've been your host, Boniface Owino. Bye-bye.